Hey guys, welcome back to Geek Space. Fan songs have been a massive part of the Five Nights at Freddy's community ever since the release of the first game. However, one artist stands above the rest: the Living Tombstone. For over a decade, they've created some of the most recognisable songs in the entire community, with tracks that millions of fans still listen to today. So today, I'm going to be ranking every Five Nights at Freddy's song by the Living Tombstone from worst to best. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Coming in at last place, we have Five Nights at Freddy's. Now hold your pitchforks. Before anyone gets angry, I want to make it clear that I do not think this song is bad. Not at all. In fact, there isn't a single bad song on this list. But when you're ranking 8 incredible tracks, unfortunately, one of them has to come last. And this is the one I chose. One of the biggest things that you notice about this song is just how early it was in the Living Tombstone's FNAF journey. Compared to their later songs, it's much simpler. The visuals are also very basic, mainly being a still image of the FNAF 1 office with the lyrics appearing on screen. However, I don't think that takes away from the song itself. The robotic vocals can be a little bit difficult to understand at times, especially compared to the more refined vocals we get in later tracks. But at the same time, this style became part of what made the early Living Tombstone songs stand out. The instrumental is where this song really shines. The background music is incredibly catchy, and I love how it incorporates classic FNAF sound effects to create that familiar atmosphere from the first game. It genuinely feels like a musical representation of what made FNAF so popular back in 2014. Another thing that I find interesting is that because this was released at a time when only the first game existed, the lyrics are based entirely around what fans knew at the time. References to things like the Bite of 87 show just how early this song came out and how much the FNAF universe has expanded since then. And honestly, that's the biggest reason this is so low on my list. Not because it's a bad song, but because the Living Tombstone has evolved so much over the years. Their later songs have stronger storytelling, more complex production, and more emotional depth. But we can't forget just how important this song is. It helped introduce a huge part of the FNAF community to the Living Tombstone and open the door to fan songs in the first place. So while it may be my number 8, Five Nights at Freddy's is still an iconic song that deserves a lot of respect, landing it at number 8 on my list. Coming in at number 7, we have I Can't Fix You. And this one genuinely hurts to put this low. I want to make it clear that I don't think this is a bad song whatsoever. In fact, I think this is one of the Living Tombstone's most creative songs. But when you have a list this stacked, some great songs unfortunately have to end up near the bottom. Starting with the visuals, this song is absolutely incredible. Seeing the Funtime animatronics tearing themselves apart in that silhouette art style is such a perfect fit for the dark and tragic nature of Sister Location. It captures that feeling of the animatronics being broken and manipulated, which is exactly what makes that era of FNAF so interesting. The vocals are also fantastic. The performance really feels like it could be Circus Baby herself singing, especially with the emotion and desperation behind the lyrics. It does a great job of representing Baby's struggle and her complicated relationship with William Afton. The instrumental is another huge highlight. The combination of rock and dubstep gives the song a very unique identity, and it feels very different from the other songs on the list. The heavier sections give it a lot of energy and make it stand out. However, my biggest issue with this song is that some parts can start to feel repetitive. The instrumental sections go on for quite a while, and the repeated lyrics towards the end can make the song lose some of its impact after multiple listens. I understand that the repetition fits the themes of frustration and being unable to escape, but personally, I think it stops the song from being as memorable as the ones above it. That being said, when the song does introduce new lyrics and emotional moments, they're fantastic. There's some genuinely powerful sections in here, and it's clear how much effort went into capturing Circus Baby's character. It honestly pains me to put I Can't Fix You this low, because there genuinely is so much to love about it. But the other songs in this list just simply connect to me more. So I Can't Fix You lands at number 7 on my list. Coming in at number 6, we have Die in a Fire. Now this is one of the most iconic FNAF songs ever made. Even people who aren't huge fans of the franchise have probably heard it before. And that alone shows just how much of an impact it had on the community. Starting with the visuals, this was a huge step forward for the Living Tombstone's FNAF songs. This was the first one to feature full 3D animation, and honestly, it still looks great today. Seeing the classic FNAF 1 animatronics being hunted down and destroyed with the axe is such a memorable visual. The way each animatronic approaches one by one before being taken out creates this really satisfying build-up. The vocals are also a massive highlight. The energy and attitude behind the performance really fits the aggressive tone of the song. It feels like a complete contrast to the sadness of something like It's Been So Long, and that's what makes it stand out. That being said, there are a few lyrics that seem a little bit strange. Some lines feel slightly random, like the comparison to throwing the animatronics away like a broken TV. It doesn't ruin the song by any means, but there are some moments where the lyrics feel more focused on creating a catchy phrase rather than telling a deeper story. One thing I really appreciate about Die in a Fire is that you don't necessarily need to know anything about FNAF to enjoy it. The song works as its own track, with a catchy chorus and a lasting style that anyone can get into. That's probably one of the reasons it became such a huge success. Overall, Die in a Fire is an absolute classic. It's catchy, memorable, and helped define the early days of FNAF fan music. But when comparing it to the songs higher on this list, I think those tracks have a little bit more emotional impact and replay value for me. So Die in a Fire lands at number 6 on my list. Entering the top 5, we have I Got No Time. Once again, we have another absolutely incredibly iconic FNAF song. If you were a part of the FNAF community at this time, you genuinely couldn't escape these songs. They were everywhere, and I Got No Time became one of the tracks that defined the era of Five Nights at Freddy 4. What makes this song stand out to me is how well it captures the fear and desperation of the crying child. The entire song feels like you're being put directly into his perspective. The fast pace, the intense vocals, and the frantic energy all work together to create this feeling of panic, which perfectly matches the story of FNAF 4. The visuals are once again quite simple, mainly showing the FNAF 4 bedroom, the plush trap hallway, and using weird flashing lights during the instrumental sections. The speed of this song is both one of its biggest strengths and one of its biggest weaknesses. On one hand, it makes the track feel incredibly energetic, and adds to that feeling of being overwhelmed. But on the other hand, it can sometimes make the lyrics and certain moments harder to fully appreciate, because everything moves so quickly. However, when the chorus kicks in, this song really shines. The lyrics are very memorable, the vocals are powerful, and it's one of those choruses that instantly gets stuck in your head. Overall, I Got No Time is one of the Living Tombstone's most iconic classic songs. It perfectly captures the fear and tragedy behind FNAF 4, while still being an incredibly catchy track. It may not quite reach the top spots for me, but it's absolutely one of their best songs, so I Got No Time lands at number 5 on my list. Coming in at number 4, we have Step On Up. This is one of the more recent additions to the Living Tombstone's FNAF catalogue, and I honestly think it deserves a lot more attention. While it may not have the same history as some of the older songs on this list, I think it's one of the most creative. The song follows Monty and his desire to replace Bonnie as the guitarist of the glam rock band. It explores his jealousy, ambition, and need for recognition as he tries to take the spotlight he believes he deserves. One of the biggest strengths of this song is the animation. The visuals do an amazing job of telling Monty's story from beginning to end, and it genuinely made me appreciate him more as a character. In Security Breach, Monty doesn't get nearly as much development as some of the other glam rocks, but this song gives him a much stronger personality and motivation. I wonder if the Living Tombstone thought that too, and it inspired this song. The lyrics are another huge highlight. The rhymes are incredibly satisfying, and there are so many moments where the flow of the song just works perfectly. It's one of those tracks where the lyrics are just fun to listen to because of how well everything fits together. I also love the instrumental. The arcade-inspired sound fits the atmosphere of the Pizzaplex perfectly, making the song feel like it belongs in the world of Security Breach. It has a completely different style compared to the older FNAF songs, which helps it stand out. Overall, Step On Up is a fantastic example of how the Living Tombstone has continued to evolve. It takes a character who is arguably underdeveloped and turns him into someone genuinely interesting. It may not be the most iconic FNAF song ever made, but for me, it's one of the most enjoyable. So Step On Up lands at number 4 on my list. Gaining the bronze medal at number 3, we have It Doesn't Matter. This is the most recent FNAF song the Living Tombstone has released, and honestly, from the first time I heard it, I knew it was going to rank highly. Now, if you've been following my channel for a while, you'll know that Secret of the Mimic is my favourite FNAF game, so naturally, any song based around the Mimic already has a lot going for it in my eyes. But even putting that aside, I think this is one of the Living Tombstone's strongest modern songs. The song is told from the perspective of the Mimic. following his story from his creation all the way through the events of Secret of the Mimic. I love how it manages to capture his tragic and unsettling nature while still feeling like a classic Living Tombstone FNAF song. The vocals are fantastic. The iconic robotic voice makes its return and sounds just as good as ever. It gives the Mimic this unnatural and almost haunting feel, which fits the character perfectly. The visuals are also incredible. The animation quality is some of the best the Living Tombstone has ever produced, and there are so many creative moments throughout the video. One of my favourite parts is the switching between Moon.exe and the real world. It creates this amazing contrast, and perfectly represents the confusion and chaos surrounding the Mimic. However, my favourite part about this music video has to be the references to the previous FNAF songs. Seeing elements from older tracks return, and watching everything come full circle, is such a satisfying experience for long-time fans. And honestly, the idea of the Mimic copying and recreating those songs is such a perfect concept. The Mimic's entire identity is based around imitation, so using him to bring together the Living Tombstone's entire FNAF history is a fantastic choice. My only real criticism is the heavy metal and rock section. I understand why it's there, and it works for the intensity of the moment, but personally, it isn't my favourite part of the song. If that section connected with me more, I genuinely think this could have challenged for an even higher spot. But overall, it doesn't matter, it's an incredible FNAF song. It's catchy, emotional, has fantastic animation, and acts as a celebration of everything the Living Tombstone has created for this community. It represents how far both FNAF and the Living Tombstone have come, but the two songs above it just have that slightly extra emotional impact that pushes them ahead. So It Doesn't Matter earns the bronze medal and takes number 3 spot on my list. Gaining this silver medal at number 2, we have This Comes From Inside. Now this is an absolute banger. After years of the Living Tombstone evolving their sound, this track feels like the perfect combination of everything that made their FNAF songs so memorable. One of the first things that stand out to me is the return of the iconic robotic voice. However, unlike some of the older songs, it's been toned down and slowed slightly, making it much easier to understand, while still keeping that classic Living Tombstone identity. The entire song has this strange, surreal feeling that is honestly difficult to describe. It feels unsettling, emotional, and almost dreamlike, which fits perfectly with the strange and chaotic world of Security Breach. The visuals are also some of the Living Tombstone's best. The comic book art style is incredibly creative, and I love the way the characters tear through and come out of the pages. It feels like you're watching the FNAF universe come to life in a completely different way. And it matches with the larger-than-life style of Security Breach perfectly. One of my favourite moments is when Gregory comes out of the page and interacts with the classic FNAF characters from previous songs. Seeing those old characters return was surprisingly emotional, especially because of how much history the Living Tombstone has with the franchise. But what makes this song so special is the meaning behind the lyrics. This song released during a pretty difficult time for the FNAF community, where there was a lot of negativity and division surrounding the franchise. Instead of ignoring that, This Comes From Inside directly explores those feelings. The lyrics about burning down the kingdom and being blinded by stardom feel like a reflection of the rise, fall and obsession surrounding FNAF. It feels like the Living Tombstone looking back at their own journey, the franchise's journey, and the community that grew around it. And that section, bringing back the original voice and classic FNAF characters, is genuinely one of the most iconic moments in any FNAF song. It feels like a celebration of everything that came before it. Overall, This Comes From Inside is one of the Living Tombstone's most ambitious and meaningful tracks. It combines incredible visuals, a unique sound, and a deeper message that makes it stand out from the rest. It may not quite be my favourite FNAF song by the Living Tombstone, but it absolutely deserves a silver medal and stands out as one of their greatest achievements. So This Comes From Inside takes the number 2 spot on my list. But winning the gold medal at number 1, my favourite Living Tombstone FNAF song, is It's Been So Long. Released back in 2014, this song has become the Five Nights at Freddy's song. Whether you're a long-time FNAF fan, or someone who's never even heard of it, chances are you've heard this song before. That alone shows just how much of an impact it had. What makes this song stand out to me is its storytelling. Rather than just being a song about the animatronics, or the horror of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it focuses on the tragedy behind the story. It follows a mother who has lost her child because of William Afton, and you can genuinely feel her grief, anger, and pain throughout the entire track. This turns what could have been a simple FNAF 2 fan song into something much more emotional. It doesn't just explain what happened, it makes you feel the tragedy behind it. The lyrics are also some of the Living Tombstone's best. The song perfectly balances telling a meaningful story while still creating an incredibly catchy and memorable track that you can listen to over and over again. That combination is incredibly difficult to achieve, but It's Been So Long manages to do it perfectly. Another thing that I love is how much this song represents the era of FNAF it came from. Back when the franchise was still mysterious, and the community was desperately trying to piece the lore together, this song became part of that experience. For many fans, this wasn't just a song, it was one of the things that helped define what FNAF was. And that's why I think this song has remained so special for over a decade. It isn't just remembered because it was catchy, it's remembered because it became part of the history of the franchise itself. My only real criticism stems from the visuals. Since this was one of the Living Tombstone's earlier FNAF songs, the music video is much simpler, using 8-bit animations to tell a story. Compared to their later videos, it isn't anything groundbreaking, but honestly, that is only a minor complaint, especially considering how much this song achieved. After all these years, It's Been So Long is still one of the first songs people think of when they think about FNAF. It's nostalgic, emotional, unforgettable, and it's the perfect example of why the Living Tombstone became such an important part of the FNAF community. So that's why It's Been So Long takes the #1 spot on my list. Alright guys, we've reached the end of today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. But now, I want to know what you think. Which Living Tombstone FNAF song is your favourite? Comment your list down below. But anyway, I hope you have a great day and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye!